Who is speaking? صوت ما في صوت ما في صوت.
السيد الرئيس كلينتون.
President Clinton. Do you hear me?
السيد الرئيس كلينتون، السيدات والسادة.
President Clinton, ladies and gentlemen.
يطيب لي أن أرحب بالرئيس كلينتون في دمشق.
I am pleased to welcome President Clinton in Damascus,
أقدم مدينة معمورة في العالم.
the oldest continuously inhabited city in the world,
وقلب منطقة شهدت فجر الحضارات الإنسانية.
and the heart of a region which witnessed the dawn of human civilizations
ومهد الديانات السماوية.
and the cradle of divine religions.
هذه المنطقة التي عانت شعوبها طويلا.
This region whose peoples have long suffered,
ولا سيما خلال هذا القرن.
especially throughout this century,
من ويلات الحروب ومرارة الصراعات وسفك الدماء.
from the horrors of wars, the bitterness of conflict and bloodshed,
تأمل أن تنعم بالسلام والاستقرار.
hopes at last to enjoy peace and stability.
إن زيارة الرئيس كلينتون على رأس وفد أمريكي رفيع لبلادنا
The visit of President Clinton at the head of a high-level American delegation to our country
والمحادثات الإيجابية والمثمرة التي أجريناها معا اليوم
and the positive and fruitful talks we had today
هي خطوة هامة في سبيل تحقيق هذا الهدف النبيل.
constitute an important step towards the realization of this noble objective
الذي تتطلع إليه شعوب المنطقة والعالم أجمع.
to which the peoples of the region and the world at large aspire.
لقد تركزت محادثاتنا اليوم
Our talks today have focused
على مختلف جوانب عملية السلام وتطوراتها.
on the different aspects of the peace process and its developments.
وفي هذا الصدد
In this regard,
أعبر عن ارتياح العميق
I would like to express my deep satisfaction
لتطابق وجهات نظرنا
with the fact that our views were identical
حول أهمية
regarding the importance
تحقيق السلام الشامل
of achieving a comprehensive peace
على أساس قراري مجلس الأمن
on
242 و 338
on the basis of Security Council resolutions 242 and 338
ومبدأ الأرض مقابل السلام
and the principle of land for peace,
وأن يكون الحل الذي نسعى إليه عادلا لكي يكون دائما ومستقرا.
and that the solution we seek has to be just in order to be stable and lasting.
لقد أكدت للرئيس كلينتون
I have reaffirmed to President Clinton
التزام سوريا بعملية السلام
the continued commitment of Syria to the peace process
وسعيها الجاد إلى سلام عادل وشامل
and her serious pursuit of a comprehensive and just peace
باعتباره خيارا استراتيجيا
as a strategic choice
يكفل الحقوق العربية
that secures Arab rights,
وينهي الاحتلال الإسرائيلي
ends the Israeli occupation
للأراضي العربية
of the Arab land
وفقا لقرارات مجلس الأمن
in conformity with the Security Council resolutions
242 338
Two-
425
242, 338 and 425
ويمكن جميع شعوب المنطقة
and enables all peoples of the region
من العيش بسلام وأمن وكرامة.
to live in peace, security and dignity.
كما أكدت للرئيس كلينتون
I also stressed to President Clinton,
انطلاقا من مبدأ الانسحاب الكامل مقابل السلام الكامل
emanating from the principle full withdrawal for full peace, I stressed to President Clinton
استعداد سوريا للالتزام بمتطلبات السلام الموضوعية
the readiness of Syria to commit itself to the objective requirements of peace
بإقامة علاقات سلام عادية مع إسرائيل
through the establishment of peaceful, normal relations with Israel,
مقابل انسحاب إسرائيل التام من الجولان إلى خط الرابع من حزيران ومن جنوب عام 67 ومن جنوب لبنان.
in return for Israel's full withdrawal from the Golan to the line of June 4, 1967, and from the south of Lebanon.
وفي هذا الإطار
In this context,
إن تصريح الرئيس كلينتون
the statement of President Clinton
عشية جولته إلى المنطقة
On the-
الذي أكد
on the eve of his trip to the region, asserting that
أن لا سلام شاملا في المنطقة من دون سوريا
no comprehensive peace can be achieved in the region without Syria,
هو تعبير واقعي
is a realistic expression
يعكس الإجماع الدولي إزاء هذه الحقيقة.
that reflects an international consensus regarding this fact.
لقد قدمت أمتنا مئات الألوف من الضحايا والشهداء.
Our nation has sacrificed hundreds of thousands of martyrs,
لا حبا بالحرب ولا هواية بالقتال،
not out of love for war or fighting,
بل دفاعا عن حقوقها وكرامتها وزودا عن أراضيها.
but in defense of its rights, dignity, and land.
ولهذا نتطلع اليوم
That's why we aspire today
إلى نقل المنطقة من حالة الحرب إلى حالة السلام.
to transform the region from a state of war to a state of peace,
السلام الذي يعيد لكل ذي حق حقه
a peace that renders to each party its right,
وينهي الاحتلال
ends occupation,
ويحقن دماء الأبرياء
saves the blood of the innocent,
ويصون كرامة الإنسان.
and preserves man's dignity.
سلام يعم أرجاء المنطقة
A peace that prevails throughout the region
ويمكن العرب والإسرائيليين
and enables its peoples, both Arab and Israelis,
من العيش في أمن واستقرار ورخاء.
to live in security, stability, and prosperity.
أخيرا أود أن أتوجه من خلال الرئيس كلينتون
Finally, I would like to convey through President Clinton
بالتحية إلى الشعب الأمريكي
to convey greeting to the American people through President Clinton,
وبالشكر على جهوده الشخصية
and to thank President Clinton for his personal efforts
وجهود مساعديه،
and the efforts of his aides.
وأعرب عن استعدادي للعمل معا
I would like to express my readiness to work with him
من أجل إحلال سلام عادل وشامل وحقيقي في المنطقة.
for achieving a real, comprehensive, and just peace in the region.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am glad to have had the opportunity to stop in Syria to meet with President Assad. After yesterday's signing of the peace treaty between Israel and Jordan, I came to Damascus today to continue working for our common goal of peace in the Middle East. During our meeting this morning, President Assad and I affirmed our common commitment to that goal and want to accelerate progress toward our objective. Yesterday's signing represents an important step forward, but our job will not be done, and we will not rest until peace agreements between Israel and Syria and Israel and Lebanon are achieved. A Syrian-Israeli agreement is key to achieving a comprehensive peace. Given Syria's important regional role, it will inevitably broaden the circle of Arab states willing to embrace peace, and it will build confidence throughout the area that peace will endure. My talks here with President Assad are a sign of our mutual determination to achieve a peace of the brave as quickly as possible. The United States will do everything possible to help make that a reality. For peace to endure, it must also be just. Peace between Israel and Syria must be based on United Nations Security Council resolutions 242 and 338 and the principle of land for peace. Peace must also be real, more than mere words on paper, more than just the absence of war. Nations must establish normal, peaceful relations. Peace must also be secure for both sides. Security for one side should not come at the expense of the other's security. Peace must guarantee security against surprise attack by any side. And peace must enable the parties to invest in economic development rather than military might. All sides must enjoy stability and tranquility. Violence must cease. Borders must no longer be subject to aggression, terrorist infiltration, violent acts, or bombardment. The murderous acts of terror that we have witnessed over the past weeks have two targets. First, innocent people who have been killed and wounded. And second, the very peace that President Assad supports. All who work for peace must condemn these terrorist acts. President Assad and I agree that the peace process allows no place for the killing of innocent civilians. I also told President Assad of my desire to see the relations between our two nations improve. In an era of peace, improved relations would benefit both countries and improve regional stability and security. Finally, I want to tell the Syrian people how very glad I am to have the opportunity to visit your country, if only briefly. Like your neighbors in Israel, you have waited too long and have suffered too much to be further denied the hope for a new and better future. On behalf of the American people, I pledge that I will work with President Assad to do everything possible to make real this new and peaceful future. Thank you.
United Press International. And I have a question for both presidents. President Assad, you do seem to hold in the minds of many the key to a comprehensive peace in the Middle East, and you have now expressed the bottom line of what will be true peace in the Middle East. How do you intend to go about getting it, and how soon will it occur? And President Clinton, do you agree that there should be a full withdrawal of Israeli troops from the Golan Heights to Lebanon, and Syrian troops from Lebanon to make a real peace in the Middle East?
I think I answered the question in my statement. We believe that the peace between Israel and Syria must be based upon the United Nations Security Council resolutions. And we made some progress today in our own talks, the details of which, as you would expect, I am not free to discuss. But We are moving forward today consistent with the United Nations Security Council resolutions, and we will continue to do it until we have a peace that is based on those resolutions.
At any rate, for a long time, we've been moving according to a mechanism that pushes us to achieve the peace process. We are relying in this, as President Clinton said, on Security Council resolutions and on different activities undertaken by all the parties, particularly the United States of America. We achieved few things and we didn't achieve other things. We are going to continue our pursuit in order to reach there in this way or in any other more effective way in order to achieve peace sooner or more soon.
سيادة الرئيس بيل كلينتون، اسمي فايز الصايغ، أمثل الوكالة العربية السورية للأنباء. لقد عقدتم مع السيد الرئيس حافظ الأسد قمتين هذا العام. هل لكم أن تقيمون موقف السيد الرئيس حافظ الأسد في عملية السلام ودور سوريا في أمن واستقرار المنطقة؟
I didn't get the translation. Am I on the wrong channel?
And stability of the region.
Well, first, as I said, I think the role of Syria in the security and stability of the region is absolutely critical. I don't think we can finish a comprehensive peace or maintain peace in the region unless there is peace between Syria and Israel. And I think the benefits that would come to the people of both countries over the next several years are enormous if such a peace can be achieved. My view of President Assad, based on our 2 meetings and our many conversations over the telephone, and his constant willingness to receive the Secretary of State and other representatives of the United States, is that he is committed to achieving a peace. He is clearly a very effective and determined advocate for the interests of his country and its people. But I believe he wants peace, and I believe we will achieve it.
Majority of the Israeli public does not believe, according to the polls, does not believe it is physically safe to give up the Golan Heights. This mistrust has been added by the fact that you haven't visited Israel, you haven't met with Mr. Rabin, there's no direct talks, you haven't spelled out the exact terms of peace, your support for 10 rejectionist groups in Damascus and Hezbollah. All this taken together, sir, I want to know what assurance can you give the Israeli public, now that you're able to address them through this press conference, they could hear you, what assurance can you give them that withdrawal will indeed lead to true peace and not to the next war? Thank you very much.
The concern of any country in the world about its security does not justify for that particular country to preserve the lands of other states, of other countries. And countries which fought throughout histories did not put conditions for achieving peace, that one party should visit the other or should not visit the other. The issue is not concerning rhetorical or formal issues, not with the visit. There are people who visited Israel before, but he himself complained
يمارس السلطة
when he was in
شكى
office,
واستمر
he
زمناً
complained
طويلاً
and
قبل أن
went
يستطيع
on for a
الوصول
long
إلى
time
اتفاق سلام
before
بينه وبين
being
إسرائيل.
able to reach a peace agreement with Israel.
المهم افتراضات أو
The important point is that the assumptions or the attempts to confine the peace process to small things, to formal things concerning the visit of one party to the other, or that one of us is concerned about security,
أن يصل بذاته
and
أو
that
يوصله
he should arrive there, or we should take them there to be secure and not to have any concern from anything.
لا في الوقائع
This was never there in reality or in
ليس
books.
لدينا ما يبرهن
There's
على
nothing
رغبتنا في
we
السلام
have that
إلا قولنا
proves
أننا
our desire for
نريد
peace
السلام.
except our saying that we
ومن
want
لا
peace.
يصدق ما
And
نقول
anyone who does not
فليس
believe what we are saying,
فلا طريق أمامه إلى السلام.
he would have no other way for peace. It would be him who doesn't want peace.
يجعلنا نثق
Who-
أنهم هم يريدون السلام.
What also makes us believe that they want peace? We have many proofs which we have against them that they do not want peace, and not us who don't want peace. Such matters, to a certain extent, were the subject of discussion and contemplation between me and President Clinton, and we are both convinced, as I believe, we are convinced that the United States is serious in pushing the peace process forward. And as I've heard from President Clinton, he has proved that we are serious. Why the others are not convinced that we are serious, although I heard statements from Israeli officials which say that Syria is serious in the peace process. And probably what I remember is that Rabin was in the front. He was in the front of those people who said a short while ago that Syria is serious in wanting peace. And I hope I remember quite well. I hope my memory is accurate in this. I heard him saying and asserting that Syria is serious in the peace process. So of whom is he afraid?
نضال قبلان مركز تلفزيون الشرق الأوسط MBC London. My
نضال
question is to
Nidal
President
Kabalan from
Clinton.
NBC London.
Mr. President, in your speech today, you emphasized the significance of security for both sides, i.e. Syria and Israel. On numerous occasions, Israeli leaders have sought preferential and rather advantageous security arrangements as a precondition for any peace pact with Syria. It's common knowledge that Israel possesses a huge arsenal of both conventional and mass destruction weapons, refuses to sign the Nuclear Arms Non-Proliferation Treaty. How do you explain your endorsement of any future package of security arrangements in view of Israel's illogical and unacceptable precondition?
Well, first of all, I don't have to explain it because there won't be a peace agreement until both sides agree on security measures. And these are measures that, to some extent, are objective and to some extent are based on intuition, the feeling about what the possible future threats to Syria and to Israel are. But the United States has absolutely no hesitation in facilitating an open and straightforward exchange on those issues. Both sides will have to be satisfied that their security needs are met. And it's been my experience that countries and particularly their leaders are the best judge of what those security requirements are. I don't believe for a moment that President Assad or Prime Minister Rabin would agree to a peace that would undermine the security of either nation. I think both of them will feel that they're more safe after the agreement rather than less safe, and that to me is the ultimate answer to this question.
Mr. President, Secretary Christopher said that leaders, presidents like yourself, are capable of bold moves that negotiators and diplomats aren't able to make. Can you tell us, were there any bold moves made today that you can report in terms of agreements on the Golan Heights or peace or terms of security?
Well, let me restate what I said earlier. First of all, I respect and I welcome the statement that President Assad has made here today, which goes beyond, in my judgment, the public diplomacy initiatives which have been made in the past. And I think that that statement should be reassuring to the people of Israel and should encourage more dialogue and a greater willingness to pursue the peace process. Secondly, in our private discussions, there was some progress made, the details of which I will not and I should not discuss at this time, but we are moving forward. I will obviously see Prime Minister Rabin. We will have a frank and open discussion, as we always do, and we'll do what we can to keep moving forward.
Mr. President Clinton, I have a question for you, please. Walid Shahade, Syria Times. On numerous occasions, the United States has stressed commitment to Israel's security and has provided Israel with all forms of financial and military support. How would you, Mr. President, reconcile your role as an honest intermediary in the peace process and your different way of dealing with Syria, which, since the outset of the peace process, has confirmed her seriousness and positive attitude to make the process successful?
The commitment of the United States to the security of Israel is something that goes back a long way, is of long standing, and is a given as a part of our foreign policy. I think that notwithstanding that commitment, President Assad and all others in the Middle East who have dealt with us in this peace process would say that we have done our best, not just me, but especially the Secretary of State, Mr. Ross, and others, to be an honest intermediary, to carry the legitimate concerns of the various parties, to try to help them to make peace. I would say to you, if I might, what I said in the previous answer. This peace agreement will never occur unless Israel and Syria sign with the absolute conviction that they will be more secure for signing it, not less secure. So whatever the details of the ultimate security arrangement are in this peace treaty, if it is signed by the leaders of both countries, it will only be because they are both convinced that they will be safer after they sign than they are before. And we will support that in any reasonable way that we can.
President Assad, President Clinton referred to terrorism earlier. As you are aware, the United States keeps Syria on its list of countries that sponsor terrorism. Did you in this discussion promise not to sponsor terrorism anymore? Did you acknowledge that you in fact do? And can you tell us what the Syrian view is of terrorist activities?
We did not discuss terrorism as a separate title. In the context of our discussions, mentioned some of the examples of the discussions which took place between me and some of the senior American officials. These discussions which are related to accusing Syria of supporting terrorism. I said in these discussions to the American senior official whom I asked then to mention for me one incident in which Syria has committed a terrorist action, and he was helpless.
لم يستطيع أن
he
يقدم
was not
لنا
able
أو أن يذكر لنا
to
حادثة
mention one single incident in which Syria supported terrorism.
الإرهاب
Terrorism,
لكن كما هو معروف
but as it is known,
مشكلة الإرهاب
the problem of
هي
terrorism
تهمة موجهة
is an
بسبب
accusation,
الصراع
allegation,
بيننا وبين إسرائيل.
because of the
هذه حقيقة.
conflict
لا
between
أحد
us
منكم
and
في
Syria. This is a fact.
من العرب
None of
وغير
you,
العرب
in
إلا
my
ويعرف
opinion, neither an
أن
Arab
السبب
nor an
في
American, who
تهمة
doesn't
الإرهاب
know that the
ليس
reason
لأن
for accusing
السوريين
Syria
ومن
of
في سوريا
terrorism,
يمارسون
it's not
أعمالاً
because
إرهابية.
that Syrians and those who are in Syria are practicing terrorism, but because
لأسباب تتعلق
but for
بالموقف
reasons
من
which
إسرائيل.
are related to our stand regarding
لذلك
Israel.
طالت هذه التهمة
That's why this
ورغم
accusation
رغبة الكثير
went
من
on for a
الأفراد
very
والمسؤولين
long
في
time.
سوريا
And
والولايات
regardless
المتحدة
of the
في
desire
فترات
of many
مختلفة
people, both in Syria
لحل
and
هذه
in the
المشكلة،
United States, at different times to
نصل
solve this
حتى
problem,
الآن إلى
we did not
مثل
reach
هذا الحد.
until
لكن
now
على
to
كل
such
حال
a solution.
هذه
But at
لم
any
تكن
rate,
إطلاقاً من المواضيع
But at
الموضوعة
any
على
rate,
جدول
this was
الأعمال.
not one of
في
the
مناقشات
topics
في
on the
مناقشات
agenda in my
الرئيس
discussion
كلينتون
with President Clinton.
ونحن نبحث عما هو أهم
And we are discussing what is more
نبحث
important.
وكان اهتمامنا منصباً
And our
على
concern
عملية
and
السلام.
focus was on
على
the
عملية
peace
السلام.
process.
ولولا أن الوقت ضيق لسألتكم جميعا
If the time allows, I would have asked all of you, does anyone of you have anything that proves that Syria has done a single terrorist act? But I don't want this to be a question to you because time does not allow such a question.
Make 2 points. First of all, in our meeting, I said, and I believe that President Assad agrees, that if we are going to have peace in the region and a peace agreement is made, then supporting those who try to undermine a peace that is made is inconsistent with that, particularly if they try to undermine it with terrorist tactics. Secondly, we cannot, and we will not support the killing of innocent civilians. And President Assad has said repeatedly and said to me in our meeting today that he thought that was wrong as well, wherever it occurred, whether in the bus incident or in Hebron. So we did discuss it in that context. I am here because I believe strongly that the best way to bring an end to terrorism in this part of the world is to achieve a comprehensive peace. And I believe that we should keep working at it until we get the job done.
السيد الرئيس كلينتون محمد خير الوادي من صحيفة تشرين.
Muhammad Khair Wadi from Tishrin paper.
قلتم مرارا
You said many times
في المسار السوري
that achieving a progress on the Syrian track is the basis for achieving a just and comprehensive peace in the region.
وقد أظهرت الأحداث
And incidents have shown that the stalemate in this track now
سببه رفض إسرائيل
is caused by the rejection of Israel to fully
لبنان.
withdraw from the Golan and from the south of Lebanon.
فهل تعتقدون يا سيادة الرئيس
Do you believe, Mr.
أنه
President,
يمكن تجاوز
that it is
هذه
possible to
خلال
overcome
زيارتكم
this
إلى إسرائيل؟
obstacle during this visit of yours to Syria? Thank you.
No, I don't believe we'll announce a peace treaty on this visit. I don't believe we will finish the job on this visit. I do know we have made some progress here, and I expect to make some progress in Israel. I believe, and I have told all the parties in the Middle East this, that we should build on what has happened and try to accelerate this peace process, not slow it down. The people of Israel have been shaken by the incidents of in the last couple of weeks, but I also think they must have been lifted up by the signing yesterday with Jordan, and they also should have been encouraged by President Assad's speech to the parliament, by Foreign Minister Shara's interview on Israeli television, by the statement that President Assad made here today. So, no, I wish we were signing a peace treaty on this trip. We won't do it, but we are making progress.
Do you, one more question, President Clinton. Do you,
السيد الرئيس كلينتون، السيدات والسادة، يطيب لي أن أرحب بالرئيس كلينتون في دمشق، أقدم مدينة معمورة في العالم وقلب منطقة شهدت فشل الحضارات الإنسانية ومهد الديانات، ولا سيما خلال هذا القرن، من ميلات الحروب ومرارة الصراعات وسفك الدماء. تأمل أن تنعم بالسلام والاستقرار. إن زيارة الرئيس كلينتون على ويمكن جميع بإقامة علاقات سلام عادية مع إسرائيل مقابل انسحاب الإسرائيلي التام من الجولان إلى خط الرابع من حزيران ومن جنوب عام 27 عشية جولته إلى المنطقة التي أكد أن لا سلام شاملا في المنطقة من دون سوريا. هو تعبير واقعي يعكس الإجماع الدولي إزاء هذه الحقيقة. لقد قدمت أمتنا مئات الألوف من الضحايا والشهداء. وينهي الاحتلال ويحقن دماء الأبرياء ويصون كرامة الإنسان. سلام يعم أرجاء المنطقة ويمكن العرب والإسرائيليين من العيش في أمن واستقرار ورخاء. أخيراً أود أن أتوجه من خلال الرئيس كلينتون
affirmed our common commitment to that goal and want to accelerate progress toward our objective. Yesterday's signing represents an important step forward, but our job will not be done, and we will not rest until peace agreements between Israel and Syria and Israel and Lebanon are achieved. A Syrian-Israeli agreement is key to achieving a comprehensive peace. Given Syria's important surprise attack by any side, and peace must enable the parties to invest in economic development rather than military might. All sides must enjoy stability and tranquility. Violence must cease. Borders must no longer be subject to aggression, terrorist infiltration, violent acts, or bombardment. The murderous acts of terror that we have witnessed over the past weeks have two targets. First, innocent people who have been killed.
United Press International. I have a question for both presidents. President Assad, you do seem to hold in the minds of many the key to a comprehensive peace in the Middle East, and you have now expressed the bottom line of what will be true peace in the Middle East. How do you intend to go about getting it, and how soon will it occur? President Clinton, do you agree that there should be a full withdrawal of Israeli troops from Golan Heights in Lebanon, Syrian troops from Lebanon, to make a real peace in the Middle East?
نحقق أمورا أخرى وسنستمر في السعي بنفس الطريقة أو بطريقة أكثر فاعلية إن عثرنا عليها لتحقيق السلام أو تحقيق عملية السلام بشكل
اسمي فايز الصايغ ممثل الوكالة العربية السورية للإمارات. عقدتم مع السيد الرئيس حافظ الأسد خدمتين هذا العام. أدعوكم أن تقيمون موقف السيد الرئيس حافظ الأسد في عملية السلام ودور سوريا في أمن واستقرار المنطقة.
Does not believe it is physically safe to give up the Golan Heights. This mistrust has been added by the fact that you haven't visited Israel, you haven't met Mr. Rabin, there's no direct talks, you haven't spelled out the exact terms of peace, your support for 10 rejectionist groups in Damascus and Hezbollah. All this taken together, sir, I want to know what assurance can you give the Israeli public, now that you were able to address them through this press conference, I could hear you, what assurance can you give them that withdrawal will indeed lead to true peace and not to the next war? Thank you very much.
Mr. President, in your speech today, you emphasized the significance of security for both sides, i.e. Syria and Israel. On numerous occasions, Israeli leaders have sought preferential and rather advantageous security arrangements as a precondition for any peace pact with Syria. It's common knowledge that Israel possesses a huge arsenal of both conventional and mass destruction weapons, refuses to sign the Nuclear Arms Non-Proliferation Treaty. How do you explain your endorsement of any future package of security arrangements in view of Israel's illogical and unacceptable preconditions?
Said that leaders, presidents like yourself, are capable of bold moves that negotiators and diplomats aren't able to make. Can you tell us, were there any bold moves made today that you can report in terms of agreements on the Golan Heights, or peace, or terms of security?
Well, let me.
Mr. President Clinton, I have a question for you, please. What is the Syria time? and your different way of dealing with Syria, which since the outset of the peace process has confirmed their seriousness and positive attitude to make the process successful.
President Clinton referred to terrorism earlier. As you are aware, the United States keeps Syria on its list of countries that sponsor terrorism. Did you in this discussion promise not to sponsor terrorism anymore? Did you acknowledge that you in fact do? And can you tell us what the Syrian view is of terrorist activities?
كنت قراءة أن تحقيق التقدم في المسار السوري هو أساس التسوية العادلة والشاملة في المنطقة. وقد أظهرت الأحداث أن الجمود الحاصل الآن في هذا المسار سببه رفض إسرائيل الانسحاب الكامل من الجولان ومن جنوب لبنان. هل تعتقدون يا سيادة الرئيس أنه يمكن تجاوز هذه العقبة خلال زيارة